Thank you everybody for joining me for the first ever journal jams. All right, we're going to get started. We have our Bride of Frankenstein journal that we're working on. Okay, I've already prepped. I had a previous video where I already prepped my journal. I added a couple of extra things just so you could see. One, I don't know if you can see, oh, it kind of shines. I put a little bit of bronze paint down the sides, just dry brushed it on to kind of give it an agey look. And then I've also figured out I have 24 sections. So each week of my journal jam, I am going to be doing a 3-page spread of the journal. So the first 2 pages, page 1 will be the story, page 2 will be the story, and then page 3 is actually going to be where Vivienne, my bride, is going to be journaling her story from a first-person point of view. So over on the Facebook page, I've already dropped the story, and so please go over and take a look at that, or I've dropped my version of the first part of the story. I also made a couple of things. I love vellum. So I went ahead and made a couple of things here. I'm going to add my story on the vellum pages, and I went ahead and printed this out ahead of time so I can glue these in here. Chapter 1 of my short story is, of course, the ashes of the laboratory. So we're going to get ready and put this on here. I also have all of the things that I've collected, and as you can see, I kind of have a color scheme going here. Grays and blacks and purples are my color scheme, as well as a little bronze and copper and that kind of thing. And the other thing I did to prep for this was I got, I did a whole bunch of jelly prints the other day in my color scheme, blood reds and blacks, as well as the purples and things of that nature. This was me just, making background papers and things like that. That will be, kind of cool. If you've never jelly printed, there's a bunch of tutorials on YouTube about how to jelly print. It's addictive. And as you can see, you just keep going. Some of them, turned out really, really cool. Other pieces are ghost prints from like stencils that I laid down after the fact. I did a wide variety of different pages, but I took some just tag board, and I have pre-painted at least one side, and I'll paint the other side. This is bronze, like a shimmery bronze color. Anyway, I thought these would be kind of cool to do a variety of things. So the first page is the short story, as I mentioned. I'm not sure if I want to stick this on first or do my design and then lay this over. I definitely want to cut this out. Okay. I don't know if this stuff tears or not. Let me just double check. Oh, it does, and it leaves a nice little edge. Good. I went ahead. I just had an extra spot. I cut out some bats. Okay. We are going to, oh, my other ruler is, the metal ruler is missing. But we're going to line this bad boy up right here. And that tears really well. I'll save that little strippy piece for later. Okay. All right. So this is going to get laid over, I think, the top of the design. So, I need to go print my actual bride pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to design the page, and then this will lay down over the top. You can pick it up. Essentially, my graphics that I put on Facebook will be there as well, and you can grab them from there. I printed out or created some graphics using AI that are really cool, and you can pull them from there. It's just kind of a little more interesting way of dropping in the pages or the actual story, so you could actually read the story inside the journal itself. Again, this is a completely original story because the bride actually just died in the end of the other movie. She was only alive for a few minutes at the end. of the movie. And, you know, probably the shortest on-screen time of any heroine in a movie for as iconic as she's become. And which is very interesting. And she says nothing. She hisses in the movie. That's it. Anyway, okay. So these are good to go. And again, this one will be on this page. And then it'll go on to the next page. And my goal with this is for the 2 pages that have the storyline to actually do a scene from the story as part of my background. And then it will be the 3rd page of this week will be her journal. So this will be an actual, you know, we'll design her journal and maybe her inner thoughts can be handwritten in here. I'm not sure how that's going to look yet, but okay. And this will end up going pages stuck together at the very end. Junk Journal Jams. Junk Journal Jams. Okay, I have my printed images. I wasn't sure what size I wanted her in. I liked this image best. And so I'm going to build upon this because I like the image, but I don't necessarily like this. In the background, I liked this burning one, but not her. So I might end up taking this background and some of this, as well as this image, and morph them together. And I'll do that on my page rather than digitally. And then in my first chapter, she finds the journal on a desk, and then she also finds a box. And I wasn't sure if I wanted this particular box that I had made out of, or if I actually made it slightly larger, or I'm thinking I want to make a box that actually opens on the page itself in the book. And so that's why I also printed this one. So essentially I could have, you know, you could open the box and see the inside of the contents. I might make this slightly larger because I think I want it to be a lot more interactive than that. Okay, we'll figure out how we want it. But let's start with our first image, which is our bride herself. So I definitely know that I want this background. I like that it first started out in black and white. Because again, the movie itself is really old, from the 1930s and 40s. The Bride of Frankenstein was on it was a later date. The original Bride of Frankenstein was in the 1935 or 1938. I don't remember. I'm probably going to tell you that wrong. Maybe I should go look that up. Right, and the reason I'm cutting this out, I of course don't want the white edges on here. I'll get rid of that. I have made it slightly a different size from my page, which is fine. I can either leave the border, or I can paint the edges, or I can add some additional embellishment to the edges. Probably should have flip-flopped this image, but that's okay. I'm actually going to see if I can superimpose her on top of there. I think I'm okay if there's a little bit of white around her, but we'll see once we drop it onto the page. So I want this bride in here. So I do think, because she doesn't completely cover that I'm going to take this bride out, and we'll cut off the pieces, and then we'll probably paint in the background. Journaling that way. Okay. That's obviously going to look weird. So I'll just piece some things together here. See if I can't make it look normal. That was probably a mistake. I don't know if this is going to work. I definitely like this destruction better. She's rising out of the ashes. Could that. I wonder if there's a way to blend the two better together. Okay, so we've got the destruction of everything going on. I can grab I wonder if I should do this off to the, okay, so this is going to be here on my story. So I think I want nothing under here and my opening scene. Maybe I will paint that out the dark purple. I don't know. Okay, so, and my bride is going to be maybe like so. I should have left this piece in here instead of cutting it off. Oh, that's okay. I can stick it back on. Okay, so move her out of the way. We have that. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay. You're completely open now. Give me the glue. Full bottle. Let's go. Okay, finally. You'll notice that on the back end. Make sure all my stuff lines up. Don't think you're going to be able to see that anyway. I might go in here with some washi tape and maybe, I don't know if I like that gold or maybe, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay, so now we got to figure out where exactly she sits. I like the fact that there's a little bit of white around her edge just because it makes her stand out even further. I think I might leave the front edge of her also as a potential tuck spot. I wouldn't normally because this paper is a little, I mean, it's still decent thickness paper, but just in case. In future, I want a tuck spot. I am going to not glue the front edge of her down. The back of it, edge of her. So you could tuck something into the front of her if need be. Okay. That's done. That's done. I think I want to put some color on here. What do we want to do is the question. Maybe some black spray. Let me set this aside so it doesn't get. And I will put a piece over her. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Looks like dust flying around in the air. She's clean. Okay, and the other thing I want is a little bit of purple. The other thing I got recently that I am not sure if anybody has any experience with this, it's acrylic inks in a variety of colors, which is a load of fun. So let's fingerprint. Oh, here, let me mix this up. Slightest little bit of ink. I'm just gonna. some visual interest to the purple, since purple is going to be a primary color. And again, this is opening scene is kind of messy anyway, right? Because she's just gone through the destruction of the laboratory. I wonder how well this is going to be seen through there. Oh, that'll be great. It'll be really pretty. Okay. Less is more, less is more. Don't add more. That's where I start adding more shit that I don't need. We'll just take that little bit off the top of there, maybe. Fun. A little messy. She's a little messy. These acrylic inks are going to be fun to play with. Hopefully. Okay. All right. Set you aside. Maybe we'll use you on something else. Okay, so that is my opening page. And essentially this is going to get stuck down here. And that is my original. And I'll read that to you later. Do I want to overlay a little bit of, give it a little bit of dimension? I know I said I wasn't going to keep adding shit, but adding just a little bit of extra shine there. I think that's the ticket. Let that dry a minute, get all nice and dry, and then we can go on to the second page. I don't want to stick the vellum down until this is completely dry. There we go. This is kind of hatcheted together because I could have put the full moon over her head or something. But I like how she kind of stands out from the background a little bit. I'm okay with the line. I would have preferred it wasn't there, but that's okay. Okay, while that's drying, I set that aside and we're drying. I'm going to work on starting the other pages. So I've torn out my desk. So there's the desk that she finds in the rubble with the journal, where this journal came from, right, as part of the story. I went ahead and trimmed, ripped this out, and then I just hit the edges with some purple. The other thing I was sitting here trying to figure out was I want the journal part of this, or the box that she finds that in the rubble in my story, to actually be interactive, where you could open it. My images are at different perspectives, so that makes it a little bit more challenging. But I think we can pull it off. I made this piece a little bit larger so it can go. Grab some ink. What you can't see is the puppy has laid down next to me, and I don't have all my things in front of me, but I'm afraid to move. You know how it is. She's laid down here at my feet, and I'm literally afraid to wake her. Don't wake the monster. Okay, I'm just gonna tip this in purple. Again, using purple rather than a brown, just because, well, the brown's over there in the cabinet, but purple is one of my colors, so I figured, hey, you know, that'll add a little bit of more, you know, visual interest if I tip everything in the purple rather than brown. So I have a bunch of different colors of purple, and actually the dark berry, mulberry color as well. Okay, so I think because, again, this is in the rubble, I think the picture looks better this way. I think I'm going to trim this out, just 3 sides, and then make it so it folds back. And then underneath would be the picture of whatever's inside. In the story, beneath the journal, she finds a photograph. So I have a photograph that I'm going to tuck in an old vintage photograph. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this one or another one. So beneath the journal, she finds a photograph of who she knew was her creator. So this would be just an example of an old, actually I think this is an old relative photograph. Yeah, it is. Of Dr. Frankenstein. So that I have this photograph, and then I have another one that I am contemplating using that is actually in both vintage, come out of here, both vintage photographs that are dead relatives. This guy is looking pretty dapper. So I don't know, there was no names and markings on this particular photo, but I thought he would be a good one too. So I might actually take him off of the paper and tuck him in, figure out how to tuck him into a tuck spot, either that one or this vintage postcard. Anyway, so then something else glinted in the debris. She stooped to clear away some of the stone to find a dented, ornate metal box half buried in the rubble. So that's where the box comes into play. And she lifts the lid, she finds gold coins, papers, and a small metal locket. Inside is the tiny photo of a woman. And so actually I'm going to put this locket on the front, and I pre-prepped. I can get it open. Okay, there's the side. I actually took I had a little teeny tiny image of another dead relative, that of a woman in a big hat. And so we don't know who the woman is. I don't know who she is. It was a little teeny tiny photo that was about the right size to put a person's face in there. Anyway, this locket I'm actually going to attach somehow to the outside of the journal and not inside, because you won't be able to close the book, but that's where the locket comes into play within. So in here, flip that back, there'll be vintage papers, so that's easy enough. Gold coins, so we can make some gold coins using ink and whatnot, and then a small metal locket. So then I'll do a paper version of the metal locket, which I think is going to be pretty cool. Okay, so now I need to trim out the three sides of my box so it will fold back. I'm probably going to reinforce it as well with a little cardstock, so that over time, lifting and closing this is not going to cause it to kind of disintegrate, because this paper, while it is like a 32-pound copy paper, I think over time it'll not be helpful. Okay, let me do this right. Pay attention to what I'm doing here. Okay, so there's that, and I'm going to score with my bone folder. Okay, so we're just gonna give that a little bit of a crease to give it a little bit easier time opening. Okay, the other thing I want to do probably is grab one of the other images. If I can scoop her, I don't know if that's going to be wide. It's not wide enough. I wonder if I can do a second one of this, and then on the inside it is the same. And do it out of cardstock. Or should I make it look aged? Does that look funny? That color. I want it to look like the inside of a... Because essentially, I mean, think this is the next page, right? It's going to be here, and you would open, put a little tab on it, and you can open it and see inside. And so that will be, this will look like the inside of a box. I have vintage paper, so that's easy to make it look like little tiny pieces of paper and things are stacked in here. Some gold coins. Paint it gold. Paint a piece of cardstock gold and then circle punch it out to get my little coins. brilliant idea. Maybe we'll just throw it on the paper. Okay. Okay, you paint everywhere. Go back and dry. Set you aside. Okay. I bought this ink and it is, I think, going to be absolutely fabulous. Look at that beauty. This is I'm gonna need that again. This just had glue on it. Okay. So I'm painting this gold because I need some gold coins, right? And so I'm just gonna get this all messy. Just gonna come through here and paint some gold on here. Perfect, 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 perfect. And then once that dries, we can hole punch out gold coins. Set that aside. Don't get paint everywhere. Up as you go. Okay. So my little pieces of paper for inside my box, I think I'm gonna cut out of this. The tiny writing is cute. Oh, you know what I have? I bought an entire box off of eBay of German newspapers from the 1800s. Obviously, I don't need that side. I'll make some little pieces of paper out of that as well. Okay, and this is just kind of laying in the background. So I can cut these up into little paper pieces as if they were layered in there. They are not in the right scale for what would have been inside a box, probably. But laying under there. Gold coins, paper, and the locket. So now we need to make a locket. Oh, I think I got an idea. The heart. We need a heart-shaped locket. I have a bunch of these little heart-shaped dealies from earlier that I could just paint one out black. And then other than this one is dark. It's about as dark as it's gonna get. I wonder if I can make it look like the locket's slightly open. If I offset it just slightly, would it look like the locket is open? I don't know. Nah. Okay. Grab that. We have, let me put the black spray paint on here. Ooh, that was weird. It absorbed weird. Okay, I'll leave our little heart to dry. Is this dry yet? Oh, maybe. Okay, I'm gonna put this somewhere and I'm gonna end up sticking something in it. Okay, let's see if this is dry enough. I probably wouldn't trust it to close the book like that because it's still a little on the tacky side, but we are probably good to go ahead and put this in there. So that will be essentially page 1. And I do think I'm gonna, oh, see, I told you I was gonna stick my finger in it. I think I am going to figure out what washi tape I want. I want to put the washi tape. Oh, I'm gonna go with this one. and don't trust washi tape to actually stick. So I am going to take a little bit. I wish I'd left a little bit more at the top of this, but that's okay. Just the tiniest little bit, because my washi tape is going to stick it down. Hopefully that does legitimately dry clear. I think I'm going to tack my edges so it doesn't really go anywhere. And I want this kind of farther down on the page because I'm going to put that little bit of washi. Hopefully that dries clear. So otherwise it'll look dumb. I guess we'll figure it out. Okay, so that's tacked down. And then I'm going to stick a bead of the washi at the top of here. If I can get it open. It's kind of that, reminds me of old, like a little bit of old book page binding. Again, I just want to, the point of this is just really to make sure that this top edge of the vellum is good and secure. I really hope that that dries clear. Okay. All right, there she is. I feel like I need to put, that's okay. Hopefully that stays down. Yes, I am going to put a little bit of the vellum in the bottom corner because I think it looks funny the way it's just sitting there. Make the washi make sense. Okay, so now we're here and there, balanced. Okay, we are, and that's tacked down, so it can't go anywhere. That makes sense, that makes sense. This looks beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I am going to let that dry really well before I add the next page in because I am worried that this will stick. Still, it's mostly dry, but it's a little tacky. And I will probably go in here and just work on, I can set this aside and work on that. Not sure how I'm going to put that in. Is this flat? Did I just make it? That's because it's wrinkled. No worries. Let me grab this piece of paper. Okay, so we want, here's my locket. We want the background. I'll just grab a piece of this. Essentially, this is going to be behind here. Cut this off. This will look like the inside of my box, right? She lift the lid on the box. Okay. So on this piece of paper, I am going to glue down some of my bits and pieces here. Just to give it the visual interest of this to be completely covered so you can't necessarily see the brown. Okay, so where do I need more? Obviously I need more down here in this corner. Looks like a bunch of pieces of paper, which is great. Let me grab a little bit more of this. Oops. It's funny that this is German because I do believe the original book was, original movie was in Germany, Bavaria, Switzerland, I don't remember. Okay, so this now covers over that, so it looks like a bunch of pieces of paper, which is fine. Good, good. Okay, and we need gold coins. Those are too small. Those look like too small in the grand scheme of things, probably. Do you think I need some larger circles? Yeah, the gold coins here. That kind of landed together. Okay, so essentially there's my, gold coins that are kind of scattered in. I might add some slightly larger ones, maybe. Could tuck underneath and maybe underneath the edge here. So it's underneath some paper. We have the heart locket that is also in here, and then we will draw the chain. Coming from there. Draw a chain. Black marker. We should be good to go. I think I want my chain coming up. Oh, moment of truth. Can we do it? Do a loop. All right. We're gonna loosely draw a chain coming up here. Does that look like a locket laying in there? Pretty cool. Okay, so essentially, again, there is my inside, and you see the locket and all of that. So we're good to go. I just need to reinforce the door to look like it's the inside of the. Oh, well, here, we could use the gold. Add a little bit more gold to here. You out of the way. Perfect. Okay. That will reinforce. That's thick enough to reinforce my little door. I might put a little pull tab on my door out of, I think I'm going to use this washi tape to make a little pull tab that I will just glue on here. So I want you to easily be able to open it. I don't need it to be too ginormous. It has that little bit of gold. It's a purple. Okay. It's going to be my pull tab. Okay, like that side better. Go ahead and glue that on while you dry. Okay, so there's my little pull tab. You can lift up on to open the box. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. Just draw where my opening is at, because that should give me the dimensions of my door. Okay. This is going to get glued on the inside of here. Okay. It would be fun if this actually looked like the inside of a box. Can I do that with paint? I bet I can. Give me a paintbrush. I'm going to do it very gently. Red paint. Oh, that's dry. What I'm trying to do is actually make it look like when you open the lid. It looks like an actual box. And the box would be three-dimensional, right? So I'm just going to come in here very gently, add in hints of box, right? So then it looks like an actual box lid. All right, and then we can go in here and glue this in. We should be safe to do so. Make sure this lines up this way. Yep. Put this all the way to the edge. And I do see that little bit of white on there. So I am going to go in with my... Okay, I don't know what happened last night. At some point, I think I must have accidentally tripped the camera and it stopped recording. And then this morning I got up early and frankly wasn't in the mood to record, but I did do some putting together of all the parts and pieces. I went ahead and just added some purple black splatters to this page, and I went ahead and glued in the box that she found in the rubble. I added a little pull tab to there out of some washi tape. And then of course we had the inside, once you open it up, it has the papers, the gold coins, and the locket that was mentioned. The desk is on here. I put it in as well. And then it mentions in the story that beneath the journal, she finds a photograph of who she knows was her creator. And so I cut out one of my dead relatives. I really wish I could figure out who this guy really is. I don't think there's no name anywhere on anything. Anywhere, even on the back of the folio that this was in. I added a little pull tab. And then because it was in the desk papers, and then I made it so that this picture would slide in because she finds it, the photograph beneath the journal. So the journal's on the desk. And I made this so it just slides in and out of there, which is super fun. The next part that I'm looking at, what I want to do is at the very end, she is looking out on, from the hill onto the town below that she's headed toward. So I thought it would be kind of cool if the page overlaid and you can kind of see her in the background. So I printed this out this morning. Originally I was going to do it really small in just the corner down here so it would show up here, which I thought might be kind of cool too. So let me go ahead and cut these out really quick so we can decide if a tiny one would make more sense than the great big one. I just added a little frame to there, which I'll probably cut off, but I was just going to put this down in the bottom corner and so you could see it, there in the bottom corner underneath. And it was kind of shadowy, but then I thought, well, let me go ahead and cut out the bigger version of this and see what that looks like if we did a whole page. And unfortunately, when I printed it, I didn't print it very long, so it doesn't quite go the whole page distance, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'll figure out how far in I want to cut it. So the other option was to actually put the whole picture under here and then have her, that in the background. It'll cover a lot of the purple, but I think if I trim this down, maybe it's just a smaller chunk of her. You could still lift up and see the photo is the intent there, but I think that's kind of cool. So the question is exactly where do we want her and how much of this do we want to cut off? And the truth, we can always go make another one. I really should get the other nice square. Probably not ripping these square at all. Where's my line at? There it is. So then this would sit here. I can still see plenty of my purple, which is fun. And then this would lay over the top like this. Okay, so there's page number 2 of our story page. So there's page number 1, The Bride of Frankenstein, Rewired, Reborn, Reimagined, The Becoming of Vivienne Stein. So chapter 1 is Ashes of the Laboratory, which goes on to talk about her now deciding she's going to pick herself up and explore the world, basically. So then the 3rd page of week 1 is our journal. So chapter 1 is journal. So this is really where Vivienne, as I'm calling her, gets to debut herself. And I guess because she's newly born, will take some artistic liberties and decide she can write. I think my backstory, if I remember correctly, in the Bride of Frankenstein movie, they get a very fresh dead body, which is a maid who's out like sweeping the walkway or something, and he kills her. So because she was a fresh dead body and the brain tends to continue to have an electrical pulse even after, I'm going to use that as why she can remember some things, because she was newly dead. Anyway, so she remembers how to write, things like that. I'll go into that, explaining that probably. Weave that into my story somehow, that she starts to regain memories, I think, of who she is. And, somehow we're going to tie that back to the lady in the locket. Okay, so I, this morning, pulled a chunk of this. It's actually a piece of lace. It's old, like lace collar off of a dress that had been taken apart, which is really beautiful. And I stained it with some ink, actually paint. I roughed it up and made it because I thought it reminded me of the Bride of Frankenstein. If she had been through the explosion and everything, she was kind of in tattered rags to begin with, and then she had been in the explosion, she would have a variety of dirt. I colored the paint. It's, the fabric in and of itself was old and it tore really easily, so I've kind of gone in and separated it and tore it some more. So that's going to be part of this, as well as some flowers. So these are just dried flowers and weeds and things that you can get in a pack on Amazon. They actually have a wide variety of them. I like this particular one because it's got some purple flowers in it. So I'm somehow going to incorporate the purple flowers, definitely the fabric, and I just haven't quite settled on my design yet. If this is going to become a belly band, a pocket, I've played around with the idea of sewing it into here, but then of course the sewed pages would fall over into the next page. So if I run it through, it might be difficult to run it through the sewing machine, or I can hand stitch it. So I think the vast majority of what I'm going to use is this section right here. I'm going to make it look like she pressed some flowers that she found in here as well. And then maybe her internal dialogue via a fountain pen. I don't know where she found the fountain pen, but no worries. Okay, we're just going to make it up as we go. I'm going to come in here and distress German newsprint. Just use it as a background on the page. So there. two-dimensional. Maybe throw a little black splatter on it. Age it a little bit more. That's bronze. I went through here and marked my pages so I didn't get off kilter and accidentally go out of order. Since this is still a little damp, I think I'm going to use the glue stick. That's good and down. Pretty sure it comes over and around. And this is really just more or less to give some visual interest to the background, not necessarily for any specific reason. I have absolutely no idea. It's an old newspaper from the 1850s. It's kind of cool. I do want to leave enough space for her to be able to write. I have come up with a dialogue for her. I probably should not have glued that way, but that's okay. So I want to make sure she has enough space to write her thoughts in here, as well as provide the visual interest of interesting. Where do I want you? Need enough room for her to write her note. So she can scribble in her note. Conundrum. Can always add her note as a tuck point. If I can have this fall over the edge just a little bit, that would be fun. Then it sticks out. I can add her note as a tuck card in here. Do something else up here and maybe some flower. We want up here in the corner. Maybe rip another piece of this off. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's see if we can figure out how to glue this on here so it creates an actual tuck spot. Maybe very difficult. Stick out just a little bit. Just need it to grab that enough that it's going to stay on here. All right. This could be another tuck area. What are we tucking in is the question. So when this goes closed, you'll be able to see that sticking out, which is kind of cool. I do like that. And this just creates the little pocket where we'll tuck her information in. I wonder, I just had an idea. Can I make it look like she wrapped? I probably have to cut some more of this off, but what if we had some of these flowers and weeds coming out the top of here like it was a bouquet? Goes with the bride theme. right? I just need the essence of, as if this was a bouquet. I have some longer, a whole bunch of this. I'm going to make it look like this has been tied. So open, or open at the top. And then I'll have, like it's been wrapped around flowers. Let's see if we can, I'm going to put the bouquet in together first before I put the rest of the stuff in the top part. Okay, let's do that. A wedding bouquet. After all, she was a bride, right? These are real flowers, by the way, that have been like flattened and then glued, or definitely tinted. Okay. I want some of these longer pieces in the back first. I think I'm going to use just a whole bunch of glue, and hopefully this dries. Arrange my bouquet. Just trying to stick them down in here so they get a hold of their, these little lace pieces are so delicate. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna put a little bit more glue on the back of some of these. They stick. I just found these on Amazon. I was looking for dried flowers or whatnot. Throw that in. Move that around a little bit. Throw some of these bad boys in here. Very beautiful. I mean, if you were a bride and you went through an explosion, your bouquet is probably charred, right? I'm guessing. And she might be slightly sentimental. I want to keep her flowers with her. Because you can see through. So essentially what it'll do is we'll stick it like this, so then it looks like it was a bouquet, so to speak. And I think I will, just because I think you're going to be able to see some of that. Make it look like there's some lines from the flowers coming through the, I don't necessarily need them, but just in case. You can see it through the fabric. It'll look like it was purposeful, right? really like these ones that are purple. I do think I'm going to grab them because they are very happy little purple flowers. Oh, look at that. Okay, there's one more purple one in here. Whoop. So delicate. Oh, maybe we'll take these little pansy-esque ones, glue them really well, stick them down over here. Hopefully that doesn't soak through and interfere with my ability to do the tuck spot. Okay. So the question is, so that's easy enough, right? So the question is, how do we want to tie it? Do we want it to be a bow, or do we want it just to be a clutch of? I'm going to go like so and fan out. So let me throw some more glue down here. So I want this to be good and stuck on here. And then we'll decide. We squish that. Cover that up with some of this. We will put some more glue in here. Just gonna let that sit for a little bit. I do think I want to cut these off. I don't necessarily need them this long. Although if they stick out of the bottom of the book, that might be kind of cool too. What do you think? Let me forget that. Stick out the bottom of the book is fine, but I don't want them to stick out that far. Okay. Okay, that is awesome. So cute. Okay, so then we need to write her message, right? And I want to make sure that this is going to fit in here. So I'm going to rip this down some over all sides. Can we get this side to rip? Okay, there it goes. And then we obviously don't want it to be cut it off right about here. Hold on, I've been holding on to all my pieces because I don't know when I'm gonna, if I'll need something somewhere. To give it a little bit more visual interest, I'm just gonna add a little bit of that purple tint to it. So it matches. I need to do something about this spot. I don't like that spot right there. This spot is weird. Maybe. Throw on some more of our acrylic ink right there. So that looks like it makes sense. Right? Well, maybe it doesn't. That's okay too. There's a little bit of glue in there. Put a little bit of that down here. Visually, are we balanced? Maybe not. Purple fingers. Wet wipes, wet wipes. Go over. Oh, you know where else I need it? A little bit up here. Otherwise, this doesn't make sense. I've already decided the first few pages are very messy because, again, this is, the tower just exploded. And then as time goes on, it will become more refined. And, she's learning and exploring and really becoming herself. And so even within the junk journal design, it tells the story. And thinking through all of that. Because as I treat junk journals like they are works of art and really want to think through, the process. A little bit of that bright. There we are. Like, why are you finger painting? Because I'm a weirdo. That's why. Okay. All right. So that's done. We have our bouquet created, which is fun. And now we have to write. Where did our piece of paper go? It's on right. Now I have to write her information. Okay. I have a fountain pen. It would be even cooler to do this with like a real fountain pen. I wrote out what her journal entry would be. Night will not release its silence. Then tuck this into, please go in, please go in, please go in. So there's her. All right, there's the first page of Vivienne's journal that she's writing as a tuck instead. Pressed her flowers in here. Gonna leave it open so it'll dry. All right, so on to chapter 2. I look forward to seeing you guys next week and to see what you come up with as you start to tell your story of the Bride of Frankenstein, Rewired, Reborn, and Reimagined. Thanks so much for joining me today as I continue the story of Vivienne Stein, our reimagined Bride of Frankenstein. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. And come be a part of the fun in Junk Journal Jams Facebook group, where we'll be sharing our pages, our stories, and cheering each other on. When you post your creations, remember to use the hashtag JunkJournalJams so we can find you and feature your work. I can't wait to see what you create. Until next time, keep stitching your story.